All the young ones out full of bleeding porter, waiting their husbands full of glee. All the giggles together. Get up out there, da.
Here, fuck off, will you? Fresh, yeah?
Shut the fuck up!
Episode 11, me and Dean, we've had a couple of good guests, so we decided that we would just go back to basics.
Statistically, we've succeeded because most podcasts get to about 3.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and if you get over 10, it's a milestone.
Because I noticed you stopped talking to me this week, right? And I was ringing you saying, where are you? And I thought, he's falling out with me. This was the Simon and Garfunkel moment where you were like, people like him better than me on the podcast.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure there's people out here who listen to this and go, I can't listen to your man Scurry. He does me fucking head in. I was telling Sparky that because I edit the podcast and I hear what everybody says, and Sparky says, I remember. And then he goes on to a little story.
Do you know what I remember then, right? So, there's loads of people getting on to me about it. It's playtime. No, but seriously, I mean, need to play. Like, when I need to play, I know that for me, if I don't have something that I'm doing outside of work, it's boring. Like, you know, so sometimes, like, I'm mad at the radios, I'm mad at the CB radios and all that kind of stuff. And I actually acquired an aerial the other day, right? It was
I'd
like,
say all the CB heads are getting a big boner there now. Sparky's after getting an aerial. What type of aerial? It's a 742. No way, a 742.
Is it a DV169?
Is it all that, yeah?
Oh, bro, like, so you have these little radios called Baofangs, which are Chinese rip-off radios. They're tiny little radios, and they're VHF and UHF, and they're kind of illegal if you broadcast on them, you're illegal. But there's 16 channels in Ireland that you can broadcast on, which is called PMR, right? Anyhow, yeah, but I use it for listening. You know what I mean? I use it to listen on. You listen to Marines, listen to Dublin Bus. You don't hear the Garda, but the Garda would have been deadly on them years ago. Like,
so it's not illegal to listen; it's illegal. It's like drugs. It's not illegal to take, but it's illegal to supply.
Fireworks or something like that, was it? It was illegal to sell them, but not illegal to use them or something. I don't know.
It's not illegal to get clamped, but it's illegal to take them off.
No, that is questionable. That's questionable. Like, I mean, I think that they're actually, when somebody puts a clamp on your car, they're actually wrecking your car.
So there's no contract and all this. I never signed a contract to get clamped.
So with the ham radio deals, right, somebody put up saying, I made this aerial out of 2 spanners, a piece of wire and a giggling pin, right, and I'm getting great, I'm getting out to China on it and all this, right, and there's always going to be some Dermot comes back, well, you can't actually illegally, you always get one of them.
Is Dermot your name for a fucking
Dermot, like, who's sitting there with a cardigan on, and his state, his shed, like, is like perfect.
He's got a state-of-the-art ham radio system in a fucking,
doesn't even have a state-of-the-art.
€300 shed out the back.
So he has a €400 shed out the back with carpet in it now, right? And he has a map of the world up.
He hasn't ridden his mutt in about 14 years.
40 fucking years, right? But he's wearing the cardigan, and he has the best aerial ever that he bought in 1978 or something like that, And he's there checking checking it every day and all. That's a Dermot, right?
He knows all the rules and regulations.
Well, no, but it's not that he knows all the rules. It's okay to know the rules and regulations, right? That's okay, right? It's that he wants to tell everybody, no, you can't do that. That's not allowed. That's not part of the regulations. Them people ought to be trampled on, and I'm not messing, right? In everything. Like, it's the same at driving events, is like, when you have an events owner club, somebody puts up, where's the fuse for the cigarette lighter? And then somebody puts up, oh man, you're not supposed to have a cigarette lighter. It's illegal to smoke in a car in Ireland, It's just, you just want to, I don't know.
That's the deadly voice.
Do you think I should do it for the podcast?
I think there's something repressive about it.
Yeah.
It's like anal repression or something like that.
Oh man, that's what it fucking
I wasn't
is.
listening to I wasn't listening to it when I was growing up, so I'm gonna goddamn make sure you listen to me now.
you said goddamn and all. That's the kind of words they'd use, you know.
Because you wouldn't say, yous are all cunts.
I was on the goddamn radio the other night and there was loads of people playing radio stations over it. One of the funniest things on the CB is, and it's great for testing the CB, is a load of the churches in Dublin have CB radios and they broadcast Mass. Now, you can get Mass on Facebook now from all over the world. Problem is when it's in Chinese.
That's 3 times in the last 8 minutes you're mentioning China.
Well, China is a big country and it's like, it has surpassed all other countries. You know, America was always kind of the place that everyone looked to, you know. America the great and America's freedom and all. America's not free at all, especially if you're black and you're in a jail, like, you know. And unless you have 4 jobs or you're a billionaire like Trump or something like that. But in China, I think you have a better chance of...
Do you think? Because I was listening to a woman from North Korea.
You're at the jumping from China to North Korea.
I know, but she reckons that North Korea is a Chinese experiment. The man is just like a bleeding proxy prime minister or president, and that China have just put him in there as some kind of control game.
Oh, it's like a game. It's like a game show.
It's like a game show. North Korea is like a game show to the Chinese. It's an experiment. It's kind of like what Ballymun is to the Irish government.
I'd be fascinated with your conspiracies. Like, I fucking love them. Because I know, right, somewhere along the line you are picking up conspiracies somewhere, you know. But I love them. And I'm starting to actually... I used to hate conspiracy theories and they used to drive me mad and I used to be like... But now I've actually gone full circle where I love them. I think it's hilarious that people have had conspiracies going since I was a kid. Here's my favourite one from when I was 13, right? Bob Marley and Freddie Mercury and all them aren't dead. Jim Morrison, they're all living on an island somewhere. Remember that one?
Tupac in Cuba, one of them things.
So there was always kind of, you know, conspiracy gear going on.
And it's like self-imposed. They're like, I'm checking out of the bleeding fame industry. I'm going onto the island.
They had enough. I don't know whether anybody out, like, somebody told me that Tupac's had a name, Machiavellian or something like that.
Machiavelli, yeah.
Machiavelli. And the original Machiavelli faked his own death or something like that. Am I on the right? Can you edit this out if I sound like a dick?
We'll have to change your phone number and your address.
Hold on, I'm doing it, Dermot.
You're after sussing out the plan.
What's Machiavellian? Was he like?
I love this part of you. This is the shit. This is the reason I wanted to do this podcast. I'm delighted we got to episode 11, past all the bullshit, you know, getting to know you. Because you're just turning a corner into fucking deadly madness.
I was always mad, right? I knew I was mad. I knew I was very, very different, quirky or whatever, like, you know what I mean? And you've heard me dad. My dad has an amazing sense of humour. My ma has a very, very quirky outlook on life, you know what I mean? My ma has these things that we call Dolly's golden nuggets, right? And she says things like, I hate to see 2 fellas sitting on their own. And then she said things like, she was down in Galway and she's seen a big orange sun, and she said, now Dad reminds you of a big round ball of flame. The other thing she said was, I had a dog called Minnie and I brought it to the vet and the vet thought that Minnie had thyroid problems, you know. And so I said to my ma on the phone, she said, how's the dog? I said, they think it might be thyroid. She said, that runs in our family. So I have that level of madness on one side, right? The outlet is sharp. He's still 80 something and he's as sharp as fuck, like, you know.
He's not as sharp as you, 80 something.
All right, 87, 83, 1941. Come on, Dan, do the maths.
2, because it's 2023 now.
So it's 84. Okay, so you're right. It's an even number. That's how I do maths as well. You know that I
subtract.
No, I think of the even first. I go even odd, right? Oh yeah, boom, and then I know it's an even number.
What year was he born?
41.
So how is it 84 then?
Because this is an odd number.
This is 2023.
So it's an odd number.
Yeah.
He was born in an odd number, so it's an even. The answer has to be even.
What are you talking about? 2023.
He was born in 2023. Born in 1941, which is an odd number.
What's 3 minus 1?
3 minus 1?
Yeah.
2.
Plus 80.
What are you talking about?
Mathematics.
No, I'm talking about my own mathematics.
What age is your dad?
84. If he's born in an odd number and it's an odd number now, his age is even.
Yeah, but it's not any even number. It's a specific one. The number 2. Oh, you're funny.
No, I am funny. So this is what I've been trying to explain to you.
You're not funny as in hilarious.
No, I know I'm not hilarious funny. I know I'm fucking mad. I fucking know
There's something wrong with you.
It takes me a while to fucking... Like, I have to be sitting down at night time thinking, right, who did I offend today?
Oh, do you still do that?
Sometimes.
We were having a chat about someone earlier on who doesn't get me, and I'm like, that's deadly. I'm so happy that they don't get me. They don't understand me. There's loads of people I don't get, but it's none of their business.
We were also talking about a mate of ours, talking about being funny. A mate of ours, him and his mom went out to the hotel to have...
So this is a section we're calling stories I wish were mine, but they're me mates.
That's a good section. So Richie and his mom went out to I better say his mot's name and not call her his ma, because she bleeding bait me.
Are we going to say Richie's full name?
No.
Well, we're going to put a picture up of him.
We are going to put a picture up. We're going to put their picture up. Anyhow, let me tell the story. So Richie and Liam went away to a hotel room, and when they went into the hotel room, there was a pink glitter cowboy hat in the room and a guitar. So Richie stripped off into his nip, put the guitar on him and the pink hat, and was messing, right?
I don't know what that was. That was something tied to Richie's Willie or something.
So Lynn took a photograph of him and it went onto the SD card on the camera, and that was it. And so anyhow, roll on 6 months later, a year later, 8 months later, I don't know when, right? Timelines are not really important. Richie's up in Blanchardstown. He wants to get a couple of pictures printed off his SD card, right? So he's in the queue, and the woman in front of him is at the machine. You know, you put the card in, and she hasn't a fucking Ronnie Drew what's going on, and she hasn't a clue. So he says to her, do you want me to give you a ham at that? She's like, I don't know what to do. So he said, come here, I'll show you. He said, and he put his SD card in, right? And the first picture that came up was him. With the pink cowboy hat on and the guitar, right? And your woman put her hand over her child's eyes and walked out of the shop. Richie said he's going to send us the picture and we can use it as the cover of this podcast.
I done it. Remember when your phone could sync up to your TV? The very first time that happened, it was about 10 years ago or something like that. The first smart TVs came out, and I synced my phone up. I was just checking it out, but I didn't unconnect it, and I invited me Mara over for lunch. There's something on the telly in the background, but then after a couple of minutes, the screensaver comes on the telly, and it's pictures of me and like some compromising pictures.
Skinny dipping or something. Dean skinny dipping down a fucking high rock or something. The way I'm picturing it is your ma's not looking at the telly and you're going, where's the remote? I wasn't well today.
You to be not well a good couple of times.
A lot, yeah.
Because I get not well 3 days a year.
Yeah. No, I get flus. I always get them. Get flus and
Have you got the jab at all? Did you get the flu jab?
Didn't get the flu jab, no.
I got it once and I got the flu hard for about four months and never got it again.
I have had COVID jabs. I haven't had them recently. But
no, you don't get the annual flu jab though, even though you get sick all the time.
No. I think I got it and it didn't do any. It didn't help. So I just said, here, I'll just put up with them. But I mean, I'm working in a centre where there's loads of people coming in and out, so I'm sure I pick it up there. But I do remember a mate of mine was eating echinacea and taking vitamin C and doing all these vitamins and all that kind of stuff. And I said to him, this is way before COVID. I said to him, I think if you wash your hands 20 times a day, it'll stop you from getting sick. You know, so we made a pact. So he took all his echinaceas and vitamin 7s and 9s and 16s and 14s or whatever he was taking. And I just washed my hands 20 times a day. And I actually didn't get sick. For that whole time, I didn't get sick. Because you're obviously picking it up off surfaces and door handles and, guitar knobs and fucking.
So you wouldn't be into the vitamins and the minerals?
No, I'm not saying that they don't help. I genuinely, today now, I took a lot of vitamin C and it genuinely helped me. It definitely did. So no, I do think that minerals and supplements can help.
So anyway, you're happy and you're feeling better?
So today, the one thing I wanted to talk about was I went into this moment when I was like, so I applied to work from home. So I've done about 4 hours on the laptop I said, right, instead of having a lunch break, I'm going to have a little snooze. But I went into this little moment, right, when half awake, half asleep on the couch, had the fire lit. And it just brought me right back to being a child when I was sick as a child, you know? And I don't know what the feeling was, whether it's a feeling of fear or of a feeling of loneliness or something like that, you know what I mean? You know when you're sick and you're up in the room and you're on your own and you're a kid. But it just brought me right back to there, you know? And I was thinking, what are the times in our lives that brings us back? You know, what's our times as adults that brings us back to our childhood, you know? So obviously funerals, you know, people arrive at funerals. Do you remember this happened? Do you remember you done this?
I haven't seen you since the last funeral.
The funeral. Some people,
we only get together.
I prefer a funeral than a wedding. Do you know
we only get together. We only see each other at funerals.
Funerals.
Do you say you prefer a funeral over a wedding?
Oh, 100%. 4 reasons.
Go.
1, you can wear what you want to a funeral.
A cowboy hat.
And a guitar. 2, you don't have to buy a present.
Correct.
And I can't,
unless you're buying yourself something. Go on.
I can't remember the other 2, but there was 4 reasons. I had 4 reasons before, but they're the 2 main reasons. You don't have to, that effort.
You don't have to hang around the whole day.
Yeah, you don't have to hang around the whole day. Yeah. And that dinner thing and fucking speeches and listening to the yell for the talking about how much of a lovely girl she is and all that. You're like
you don't have to wait around for an invitation to a funeral. I'd love to go
to a wedding and they start talking about she made a great coddle or something like that. Because it's the same thing. Everybody has followed the exact same thing, right? She's a great girl. So
you're bored. That's what you're saying.
But it's the same thing. Like, it's like watching the same film over and over again.
I used to have that. In my head, I'd be thinking, I'm living the same year over and over again. It's like a Hallmark year. The January is the same for the last 15 years. The February is the same for the last 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Recently, I kind of got rid of all that. And I don't do all that. You know, like in Ireland, we have start of the year, New Year's. Then we have Valentine's. Then Paddy's Day. Then
I love the
get
way,
your clothes for the Easter.
I love the way words are in Dublin. Like Valentine's is Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day.
It's like Fiari.
A Fiari, yeah. And then what was the other one I was saying?
I think it came around from
McCarty.
Kids having speech impediments and not being fixed.
And McCarty and Coke.
What did my ma used to call it? A Mabaloo.
My ma calls Magnolia paint Mongolia. Mongolia. She got the whole house Mongolia. It's gorgeous.
Mongolia. They're all going around on horses.
The whole house is Mongolia. Gorgeous.
Yep. What was your man's name, the Mongolian dude?
Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan. You know Genghis Khan used to live in Cabra. He's part of the Cabra Khans.
Come here. I was in Mongolia.
Where?
Absolutely savage place. Great place. But very, very, very poor. Lots of dire, severe poverty, you know.
Little known fact about Sparky, he done the Trans-Siberian Railway journey when he was about 28 years of age.
2005, me and a mate of mine, Denis, we were meant to go and do a train journey in South America. Denis speaks Spanish, and we were thinking,
Si, senor.
That would be handy, you know what I mean? So we were booked, and then we were booking, I think, and the company said, look, South America is a bit mad at the minute, so we won't do that one. Would you be interested in doing the Trans-Siberian? So I was like, yes, absolutely, let's do it. So we flew from Dublin to London to Riga, and then in Riga we got a train overnight into Russia, and it was scary. It was like something out of a Dr. Zhivago film, like, you know. They arrived, the security or the police or wherever they were arrived with the big hats and real stern woman and all that kind of stuff. And we were lucky. I tell you, we always had great luck in Russia because we were doubled up in a room with a Scottish fella and his wife was Latvian and she could speak fluent Russian. So she was doing the translations for us, but they wouldn't take it. They were putting us off the train for some mad reason. Something wasn't adding up with our paperwork, you know. But we got into Petersburg and we met the group that we were travelling with, and they were deadly. We met Taz and John from South Africa. They were sound. They were 2 doctors. And then there was Steve. There was a lot of Australians. Couple of British sound. We had a
random question. Are you in touch with any of them fuckers still?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, still am, yeah. Still am. And with Taz, no, only through Facebook. Taz and John come over to my gaff afterwards. They were living in London and they come over to drive around Ireland for 10 days. And they came to my gaff and stayed in my gaff for the 10 days and just chilled out here. Like,
you should send them the fresh batch.
I will send it to them.
Because there's fuckers around the world. In Australia, I had a look on the Spotify who listens to us. It breaks it down.
Right. And is the people listening?
Well, about 60% are from Ireland.
Right.
But then there's like America. South Africa.
That was the word I was looking for.
America. Australia. So there's people all over the world listening to the podcast. When you're speaking here, you don't really think about that. If there's people out there around the world, send us a message. Hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up on Ray Corker on Facebook.
So still in touch with them. So we travelled. We were in St. Petersburg and we travelled from there to Moscow. John was mugged in Moscow, had all his cards stolen on the train. Moscow was rough, tough, as you can imagine, like, in 2005. And then we went down to Minsk and all the way down to Lake Baikal. And we stayed in Lake Baikal for a couple of days. And we were in, you would have loved it. There was saunas at the side of the lake called banyas. I only remember that because it sounded like milk in Irish. And you'd go in and the heat in them. They had a fire going on the outside and then they would heat stones and throw water on them. Very like a sauna, but it was called a banya. And then you'd run out and go into the lake. Deadly, savage. So then from Lake Baikal, we went across the desert into Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. I fell asleep going through the desert. Believe it or not. And I didn't see much of it. So we went to Ulaanbaatar and we stayed there overnight and we were down in a restaurant. I remember they were saying, you want beef? But everything was horse. It didn't matter what it was you were ordering, you got horse. And then we went out to the mountain and we stayed in a yurt for a couple of days and people went horse riding. And I didn't get on a horse because it's not my thing. I've never really been into horses, like,
Do you remember we were doing a thing here with Glenn and there was a horse scene in it? It was a music video we were making. And the redhead youngfella, Ben, joining him on the podcast, he's in London at the moment. But do you remember he was on the horse?
And he fell.
We were like, don't put him up on that horse. And your woman was like, no, we'd be grand. And we were like, no, that's a wild horse. You're in Ballymun. There's no bleeding way that youngfella's going to be grand.
Don't put him on the horse.
Don't put him on the horse. He got kicked off the horse and fell and hurt his little head.
He cried, yeah.
Ben, if you're wondering why you have migraines all the time, it's because when you were 10 years of age in Ballymun making a music video with me, Sparky and Glenn, you fell on the bleeding ground off a horse.
So High Hopes is the name of the video Glenn made with me and Dean.
I think his mammy is in it. And a great photograph that I took of Glenn and his mammy standing with the flats behind them. And he's pointing out where they used to live. Yeah. That was great.
So, yeah, we were up in the mountains. So I'll never forget in Mongolia during the day, it was like very, very warm. It was hot. It was the hottest I think I've ever been, right? And then at night time, it would go below zero. So you'd be in a yurt and they'd have a fire in the middle of it. And every time you get into the yurt, you whacked your fucking head off the door. Right?
You have to bend down.
Because they were built, people from Mongolia are a lot smaller than us.
But also it's a defence thing. I learned that in the huts that I was in Southern Africa.
Because if you're bent down.
You have to bend down. So if you're going in to attack somebody, they've got the higher ground.
Yeah. But there was always a fire in the middle of the yurt, like a stove. And they burnt sticks and a type of turf. So then we were out in the country and then we went back into Ulaanbaatar and then from there down into China over the Great Wall of China. That was an amazing journey, And then when we were in Beijing, we went in the markets and all that. Like, me for markets, it was just deadly. I just loved it, You could get shirts made for a bleeding €1 or €2 or whatever. It was just deadly. At the minute, Russia would be viewed in a certain way in the media, And for me, after being there, I wouldn't have the same thoughts about Russians.
Yeah, I've been to South Africa, say about 10 times. I'm probably going to go next summer as well. And people going, would you not be afraid? worried about the food and all that type of stuff or the danger of it. I was like, no, it's grand. South Africa is the size of Europe, for example. So you just imagine all the mad shit that's going on in Europe right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The robberies, the murders, the mad shit. Is Europe safe?
Well, not everywhere. Like, you know,
Exactly.
not everywhere.
Yeah. My kind of lesson from that was, don't be listening to the noise. Get on the plane, buy the ticket, just bleed and go.
We were saying this the other day, 100%. This seems to be the new...
100%.
100%. Yeah, no, you're right there, you know. And I would have had fears about going to New York. And I love New York. I went to San Francisco and people said, don't go down to the Castro on Halloween night. People from San Francisco were saying, don't go down there, it's mad.
People saying, don't come to this community. And it's the best bleeding place in the world. Don't believe the noise. Don't believe the hype.
No, go to these places.
Buy the ticket. Yeah. That's why I was telling me mate's son, he went to Australia recently, and I'm saying, he's thinking about going back, and I say, stop thinking about it, just buy the ticket. Get the ticket.
Definitely. And
do one of them round the world ones. They used to be about £1,000. You could buy 10 flights, travel the world.
Oh, man,
if you're young
doing it.
and you've got $2,000.
If you're 50.
And you've got $2,000, get a round the world, round trip ticket, is that what they call it? Round the world ticket.
Yeah, around the world ticket. A woman I worked with, her son went off to Mexico. And I was like, Mexico? All we see about Mexico is cartels and, you know, drugs and all that kind of stuff. And he had an amazing cultural experience. Like, you know, he met absolutely sound people. Like, you know, when he went down, I think he met the Zapatista. They're like, they would be kind of similar to travelers. Like, you know, they would be an ethnic group in Mexico, you know. So when I did a community leadership course, the guy who taught it spoke a lot about the Zapatistas, and I asked him about them afterwards. And why did he speak so much about them? And he had been out there. He spent a year with them, and he had an amazing time. You know, he had an amazing time, and that's the thing. What you were saying, buy the ticket, go.
Yeah, don't let the language or the food or your prejudice or your fears or some hearsay about a people stop you from going.
So there was a guy from the north of Ireland who travelled the length and breadth of South America, right? And he made a programme for the BBC. And it was not way before, but a little bit before people would have made YouTube videos about their travels and stuff like that, you know? So he had a camcorder in his hand, and he went from Argentina, up through Peru, Chile, all those places, right? And he arrived in Colombia. I think it was Colombia he was in. And he was walking down the street, and this guy summoned him over and nearly tried to mug him, right? But he got most of it on camera, and it was used on the show, right? And it was a deadly show, very interesting, very different type of show. Like, you know, it wasn't, he wasn't going to visit the mayor of the towns, like he was going into the hostels and all that kind of stuff, and it was a great show. But the one thing was, he said afterwards, when he was interviewed, the only thing they spoke about was him nearly getting mugged in Colombia. They didn't talk about anything else. Didn't ask him about the welcoming he got. And so there's a guy from Ireland decided that he would walk from Ireland to Turkey and just not bring any money with him and just rely on the humanity of people to support him. And his story is amazing. He didn't starve. He actually did really, really well, you know.
There was one that Tommy Tiernan done. Remember that one? He just walked Ireland. It was like a TV show we done, but he just walked, chatting to farmers and bleeding badgers on the side of the road.
I must have been in Russia when he done that.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember it now, but Tiernan has done amazing stuff, like, you know. Like, I remember my first, when people spoke about Tommy Tiernan, it was on the Aran Islands. Remember we went out to the Aran Islands? We met Darren Malloy and all those people out there, and they were trying to kind of organise a Celtic community or something like that. But he had been out there with them. That was the first time I ever heard of Tommy Tiernan.
There was an outfit that you knew on the Aran Islands.
Dennis. So Denis is still going. I've seen a video of him. Denis was an amazing man from Dundalk, from Blackrock in Dundalk, and he had been in the Guinness Book of Records for lifting beer barrels over his head.
I remember that. He was strong, and he used to say, "Sure, I know."
That's just his thing, yeah.
Everything. And I remember coming home, I was 16 years of age or something, and I got this whole new philosophy in my life, and it was, sure I know. My dad would be saying, go in and stick the kettle on there. Sure, I know.
So he said to me one day that he was on the Aran Islands and there was a fella came in to give out to him saying, Denis, you're doing me fucking head in. Every time I say something to you, you say, sure, I know. And I said to him, you should have said to him, sure,
I know.
And he don't want to, I tried the Dundalk accent. Fuck, if I could go back in time, I could fucking tell him.
It's like a little mantra or something. It's like, well.
Denis he was a milkman, he was a bouncer, and he was a school bus driver, right? He knew everybody. Everybody knew him. He was like me and you around here, like, you know what I mean? He was and just one day he got this thought into his head, right? So here's your story about just get the ticket. He just said, I'm going to go over to Mother Teresa in Calcutta and I'm going to help her, right? That thought just came into his head and he just put everything down. Stopped bouncing, stopped doing the milk and stopped driving the school bus and just bought a ticket and went out to Calcutta to help Mother Teresa. He has amazing stories. Like, so there was one story about a young fella or a young one in the compound that he was in, and they made a lot of money for the gangsters, for the drug dealers, whether they were selling for them or something. There was something that they wanted this young person for, and they stole that young person one day. And Denis chased them all through the streets of Calcutta, and they ran into this house, and he ran it after them, right? And they were up on the third floor, and the young fella was sitting on the bed, and they were at giving him a drug, to sedate him or whatever, like, but they were all standing in the room, and Denis says, you could have heard a pin drop in the room, And then he said, there was a can on the floor, and he said, I kicked it, and it broke the atmosphere, and your man made a dart for the door, but he said he grabbed him, and he said, I spun him around, right, and he said, in anger, like, he said, I just looked, right, and the only thing that I could see was the window, right?
Fuck off.
And he fucked him. He threw him out the window, grabbed the child and went down the stairs.
They were bleeding sex trafficking them or something, were they?
I don't know. I think it was more about dealing. I think they had him dealing, and he was out doing. No, it could have been a girl. I don't know, but it's 25 years since I heard that story. Or 30 years since I heard that story. But
your man is still flying out the window.
So your man hit a canopy underneath, and then that broke his fall. But they used to come up on the motorbike every week and ask, was Denis still there? Because they were terrified of him, That was one of the stories. And then another story that I love, right? I love this story, And he says, the first night he arrived in Calcutta, he said to somebody, when is Mother Teresa's mass? Because I want to meet her. I want to talk to her, So people said, you'll meet her at 8:00 mass in wherever church in the morning, right? So Denis had to be on a big long flight, never changed his watch to the local time, got into bed, fell asleep, and he must have been snoring, right? But he was woken up by somebody shouting, and he jumped up. When you're in a strange place, and he woke up and he looked at his watch, and he said it was 7:30 on his watch, and he was like, fuck, right? And he's running around the room, getting his fucking shoes on, and then ran out the door, and he says, when I got outside, it was 2:00 in the fucking morning, like, you know what I mean? He said, I had forgot to put my watch back, but he said he came back to the hostel and got into bed and fell asleep, right? So then roll on, 3 weeks later, they're up in Mother Teresa's place, and there's a Scottish fella there, and him and Denis got on, and the Scottish fella was telling a story to other people, saying, he says, I was staying up in a hostel, and this guy came in, and he got into bed, and he was snoring like a fucking horse. So I shouted at him, shut the fuck up! And he said he just jumped out of the bed. He said, I thought he was going to murder me.
Fuck!
Ran out, fuck, and ran out the door, and he says, he came back a half an hour, got back into bed. Then I said to him, that was me.
Did he get to meet Mother Teresa?
He got to be, him and Mother Teresa were on first name terms, and
they were mates on Blade.
They were mates,
Tinder.
but I remember one of the things that he used to send over big, huge tubs of pseudo-cream, because old people would have lots of sores and stuff like that. A lot of the street people would have sores, and he was really dedicated to the people of Calcutta, Yeah, so that was Denis. Like, he was amazing. And then when I met him, then he'd been out in the Aran Islands growing and organic stuff, and he was up in Dundalk then doing a bit of growing. And he was an amazing. Now, then recently I heard that he bought himself a Harley Davidson or something, and he started traveling around. He climbed Kilimanjaro and all these kind of different things. So he's although he's probably in his 70s now, he's still full of mischief and adventure, you know. Great to hear about people like that, isn't it? Thanks for reminding me.
Denis McKeown. I remember him well.
Yeah, he was great. He was great. There was 3 Denises in our lives, Dean. There was Denis McKeown from Dundalk.
Denis Moynihan,
who was a teacher. There's a lot of travelling as well. There's a lot of great work with the European volunteers. He goes out to different places and volunteers during the summer.
And then there was old Denis.
There was old Denis McSweeney.
Oh, Denis McSweeney,
He was a retired tax inspector who came to help us in the youth club. And
so we had a youth club in a block of flats in Ballymun and Balcurris, and Denis used to be in there, and we used to do crafts with him. That was bleeding deadly.
He was deadly. He had all these saws, fret saws. I actually seen, I was up in the market the other day, and I seen a cut-out shape of Ireland, which was a clock, you know, and it just brought me right back to Denis.
But it was like a little meditation doing it. You'd be there just fretting away.
Yeah. There was like coping saws and fret saws, but he was more into fret saws.
You were talking last week about the conversations we used to have in the youth centre when ManCon was on, and it was those moments when we'd be all in a room fretting away,
cutting out shapes and different things. We'd make boxes and we'd make different things, and we'd cut out shapes and stuff. It was play, wasn't it, then? You know, when you think it was play, it was we were encouraging people to be creative. We were creating a safe environment for young people to be in, even though we were very young ourselves.
We were hanging out, kind of like a boys' club, and it was just loads of activities of fixing stuff, mending stuff, painting stuff, finding shit, making go-karts out of beds,
pool tables.
There was creativity was a way of kind of connecting with each other through all the mad shit that was going on, you know?
Yeah, the 80s were tough here because there was a lot of heroin, there was a lot of deaths from heroin, there was a lot of violence in Ballymun, but on a normal day it was grand. We planted the seed. Hugo Bourne and John Bourne and those people planted seeds, and we grew a youth club. We grew this youth club, and then there was a Carol Hines and Sister Eilish had a girls' club next door, and then John O'Lennon had a club for the older lads upstairs. But they were spaces where young people could be creative and could connect, as you said, you know.
And do mad shit.
We were all like fucking 16, 17, 18, like, you know. It was a different time.
You could get away. It wasn't even getting away with shit. That was just the norm, like.
Different times, yeah. I remember we got a gaff down in Loch Ennell with no electricity in it. And we were fucking eaten alive by flies. I got bit by a fly and I had to go and get an antihistamine injection. And they said to me, "You're not to drive." And I was like, "I'll be grand." And I was driving home from Beaumont Hospital and I just had to park the car up, you know. I got home and I gave my dad the keys and I said to him, "You better go around and get that car, but they're leaving it up on the path around at Beaumont Hospital." He came back, he said the car was in the middle of the road. Like, that's how distorted I was. But I had to get this antihistamine injection, and then there was somebody gave us the use of a house in Navan. We used to cycle down to that now. Do you remember that? We used to have, that was off the grid. That was off the grid gaff.
There's no power in it?
No power in it.
Oh, so there's one story in it. Because we could talk about this shit for weeks on end. But there was one story in it when we brought a load of young people from Ballymun and scared the bollocks out of them in that house in Navan.
I put a mask on and a suit.
So it was, imagine, right, the middle of October, in a semi-abandoned house with no electricity and basically no lights. I think one or two of the rooms you couldn't even go into. There was just mad shit in them.
That's right. There was one room that we didn't go into, yeah.
So there was like, say, 8 of us sleeping in one room and we're eating like a stew that's basically just 10 cans of stuff thrown into a pot.
We were just heating stuff up, that's right.
And what'll we do? Well, let's walk down to the shop.
No, we cut back the garden, right? It took us like about a year and a half to cut into the garden. And when we cut into it, we found a well. And somebody took a cup of water out of the well and drank it. They were sick for about 2 weeks.
But it was near a little shop because I remember it's near the...
Taranaree was where the shop was.
Do you know the house that the priests go to retire in?
Dalgan Park. So that's Taranaree. We used to walk to Taranaree.
We used to walk to Taranaree from this house. But I remember going to a market in Taranaree. Not like a festival or something like that.
Oh, wow.
A summer festival, because there's a picture of me and my family there.
Totally.
And I remember it being there, and Father Holloway had retired into that place. One of the priests from Ballymun.
Up to Dalgan. He was running the grounds up there, and he made a deadly walk. And if you go up to Dalgan, you can do this walk. It's absolutely super. And Holloway was great. Father Holloway was an amazing man. He was out in the Philippines, and he came back to Ireland, and he was our parish priest, and he was a doer. He was real. So he's the one that gave us, he was the one that had the confidence to say to us, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, there's a flat, run a youth club.
I think it was him and Mr. Hickey, because I met Mr. Hickey, the principal from St. Joseph's, recently at the 50th anniversary, and he said one of the things I'd done in this community, and I think it was with Father Holiday, was set up the credit union. So anyway, back to the story. We're in the gaff.
So we're in the gaff. Guy had this mad full face mask. Maybe it was Halloween. Maybe it was October. But so I had this full face mask. I had a trilby hat and an old suit, one of my dad's old suits, and a pair of docks. And I come up the lane dressed up as this outfit and into the gaff. And I didn't talk. I just banged the stick on the ground. And I had got that from the Aran Islands. I had been out in the Aran Islands and seen them doing that out there. So it was kind of similar.
So you went into the main room, the sitting room, candlelit room with maybe 10 young kids in it, a couple of older leaders, knocked on the door, went into the room and just sat in a chair, and you put your head down and the kind of cap half covered your face and you didn't say anything.
You gave me a box.
And those 10-year-olds in there pissing themselves.
You gave me a box.
Did I?
You gave me a bit of a lunge. You went, get out of here. I went to grab you and say, it's Sparky.
But it was just one of them things. How do we frighten the bollocks out of these? I think some of the Jervises were there, were they?
Peter Rogers, Christopher, Peter's cousin, I think he was a Christopher Rogers, I think he was a Rogers too. David McCarthy. God, how do I remember these names?
Oh, there was another one with the Jervises when we were down in the Calvin Centre and we were in the forest and we were wearing...
Here's one of the funniest ones I did, right? I don't know whether you were here for this one. I think JD was with me for this one, but we had a creative, remember that was a creative music.
Creative Labs
MP3 player, right? There was a guy that me and you knew, Keith
Deegan.
And me, JD, and a few others bought these Creative Labs players. And like, it was deadly for us. This was technology like beyond the beyond, because you could put all your music onto this and play it, right? So I had this mad idea. We had a speaker that I plugged into, and we were in the Calvin Centre and we opened the attic up in one of the rooms. We were at to be somewhere and we recorded a baby crying for about 10 minutes, but we layered the track. We layered the track up on it, right? We made a track, 15 minutes of silence, a baby crying, and then we were at the bin. I always remember we were in the City Arts Centre and we were standing at the window at the City Arts Centre and we could hear the playground of the school next door, and we recorded that as well, right? It went from 15 minutes silence to a baby crying to kids playing in a playground, right? So all the Jarvises now were down there and we put the speaker up into the attic and press play. So we knew we had 15 minutes of silence. So we said, get into bed, go on, get down, don't be fucking right. So next thing they all settle down, and next thing you just hear, Sparky, can you hear that? There's a baby crying. And I'm like, no, there's a baby crying. I was like, shut up, I can't hear that. Just go to sleep. No, Sparky, right? So when it came to the bit where the kids were playing, right, they just all legged it. It was like, blew their minds. But it was hilarious.
The one with the Jarvises in, I think it was the Calvin Centre, we had these sheets over us. We go on a midnight walk and there's a few people in the forest with sheets.
That was in the old graveyard, yeah?
And so it'd be pitch dark. You might have 3 or 4 people planted in the forest with sheets. You'd bring a group of young people through the forest
right,
on a walk.
Now. That was the Calvin Centre.
But underneath the sheet, you'd have a lighter and you'd flick the flint on the lighter. So you'd see these shapes just appearing and disappearing.
Yeah, that was brilliant. They were
and there was kids screaming.
Yeah, why did we want? What is that like? You know,
because we were doing a midnight walk. It was like that scary Irish Halloweeny winter fucking thing.
Yeah,
scared the bollocks out of people.
And we still do it. Like, I'd be watching TikTok. Like, I was watching TikTok yesterday, and Jade Murphy, who used to come into the club, works in McDonald's. And there's a video of a woman, she puts her phone on the shelf and she hides behind the door. And then Jade comes into the storeroom and the woman goes, "Wah!" But there's loads of them on TikTok. There's loads of those people scaring people. You know, you open the press and there's a bloke in it, or you open the lid of the bin and a fella jumps out.
Here, do you remember me and you went down Balcurris?
Dressed up as two elflas.
That's right. With suits on and with these really realistic masks, right? I'd say these masks now, if you were to buy them, it'd be about 200 quid. But we picked them up for like a tenner each in a fucking pound shop.
We got them at Fairly House Market.
They were cracker. So we had two push bikes.
I found it? It's at home. I found the mask.
No.
Found it, yeah.
We have two push bikes, a suit, the mask, a hat and a cane. So we're cycling down Halloween night, and all the lights, like the street lights in this part of Ballymun, were all knocked off. And
we got dressed in the club, right, and we came out, and the lads were standing at the block, and they said, "They're two coppers."
Now these, when we say the lads, these are like what we would call the Balcurris boys. They'd be like a really well-known gang of lads in Ballymun 20 years ago, right? And we came out and it was pitch dark and we just stood there, fucked our bikes on the ground, and we had these sticks and we were banging them on the ground like a cane and walking closer to them but not saying anything. And the lads were freaking the fuck out. The fuck is this?
I remember now.
Who the fuck is this? Who's that? We didn't say anything and they were fucking trembling, but they didn't have the penny didn't drop that it was someone trying to freak them out, and they didn't have what it takes to come over and kick the bollocks out of us. Yeah. There was that tension. Halloween, who the fuck are these?
So I remember I went up beside Shadow Cunna, and Shadow Cunna was a local activist, and I went over beside him. There was a Halloween event, and there used to be like an old playground in Ballymun that had a stage in it. It was probably this Ken Loach fucking thought in the 70s or 80s that there would be a play. It was
an amphitheatre.
An amphitheatre, that's right.
It was in the middle of Ballymun.
There was a play going on it this night on Halloween night. And Stick Leader Bourne was in the play. But I come up beside Sean O'Connor with the stick, and I gave him a crack at the stick, and then just kind of, and he looked at me, and then he got a big fright because the mask, the face of the mask was like mad, like, you know. But he wouldn't say that to me. But you were wearing the other mask, and he could see you on the other side looking over at him, and we just freaked people out. It was the silence. I learned that on the Aran Islands. I used to see them on Halloween night on the Aran Islands. They would just dress up that way. They'd paint their face and
stand beside people.
Just stand beside, and people would be like, "Who is this?"
Like this is the most normalest thing in the world, and all the mad shit goes on in their heads. You don't actually have to do anything mad.
And they kind of do it in America a bit, where they have, you'll be driving down the road and you'll see a clown at the side of the road, you know, with a balloon or something, and they let go of the balloon and people.
That's very effective.
It's very effective, isn't it?
I done one when they had the like big Halloween celebration here in Ballymun on the Plaza, the Other Word Festival, and I'd come over dressed up and I'd just stand beside people. And I remember standing there one time and I just said to a fella, there was something happening on the stage. One of the local acts, Dexter or something, was playing. And I stood beside this fella with the mask on. And I just said to him, "Is that live?" And he was looking at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about? That thing on the stage now. Is that live? Or is that pre-recorded?" He was freaking the fuck out. And then I'd just walk away. Or I'd hold his hand or something like that.
And that was, I'll tell you who that was. That was Brian Mongie, you said it.
Was it?
Yeah, out of the council. I was standing beside, because I was like, you come out to me first and you said something to me, and I was like, I could get it. I knew what you were up to, but I was trying to think, who is that, like, you know? And then I copped it was you.
I've done that loads, and I think I might do it again. It's just about finding the right
costume
mood for the costume, you know what I mean?
So me and Tucker done it one year, right? And I was in a wheelchair, or he was in a wheelchair, and because you know the way a wheelchair gives you a certain power, it gives you a certain. So we done.
It's like a lanyard at a festival. You can just walk around everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But it gives you it does give you a certain. People open doors, you know, for people in wheelchairs, and so we were going past the lads in Balcurris Street. I think it was actually this year that they said they thought we were the Garda. We couldn't get across a piece of ground. And I said, Tucker, get out of the chair, right? And he jumped over and we ran over up through the courts, like, you know. And it's mad now. I'm actually after getting a flashback as to where the flats were now and all. I have never thought of that until tonight, you know. So where St. Joseph's Terrace was the end of the flats. You know what I mean? And then, but that's where we were. We were at the last block, which was heavy tack back in the day. But they were like, that's the girl. And I was thinking, they're going to kill us. Come on, let's leg it. But we took a jump out of the wheels here. We got to the road and we pushed them down.
You have to push up against that tension, though, in order for it.
It's leaning in, Dean. That's exactly when I heard you saying that. So we got onto the parade and people were coming up to Tucker and they're going, how are you? And he's just sitting there. And it was theatrics. It was amateur theatrics, but it was amazing. It was street
I
theatrics.
urge you all, right? If you're out there and you're reluctant to get into a costume at Halloween, right? Fuck it. Just get in, dress up as something, the most stupidest thing or whatever. Don't overthink it. But just get excited by it. I fucking love that time of year when it starts getting dark and a bit cold and breezy and
it's coming now, isn't it? It's
I
in the
love it.
post. It's in the post.
It's my girlfriend's favourite time of year. It's that spooky time.
Yeah, I love the chaos as well. I love that the young people, like, who in the young people says, right, let's go collecting, right? And they just seem to just switch. This switch comes on all over Dublin, all over where they're just pulling pallets out the back of cash and carries and all, and then they're piling them up, and then the corpo comes and takes the wood, and then they start all over again, and then they have a bonfire Halloween night. Like, even before there was text messages, before there was Facebook, that would happen. There would be this, right, we're going collecting. I remember getting told, you won't be coming to the bonfire unless you go collecting. And I said, right, and I had to go collecting then, you know.
Yeah, it's a coming of age thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great. It was deadly. It was a real male thing as well. Like, you know,
the first time you stand on a rusty nail and it goes right up through your bleeding foot.
And you don't care. You think, I'm not screaming.
I'm now part of the gang.
Oh man, the Halloween bonfire that I went to, like, I remember seeing it as a kid from a distance, like, you know, I mean, the adults would bring you down to, you know, and then they'd say, right, come on, we're going now, because the place would kick off, like.
The cider will fucking start kicking in.
When I was 15, me and my mate bought cider, a few of us bought cider, and where the Artane Beaumont Recreation Centre is, there was a field in there. We went in and drank in there, and we got playing mambo on Merrydale cider, you know. And then we were up at the bonfire, and I was singing Stiff Little Finger songs and all, but it was like, get your man down tomorrow, your man Sparky. We'd sing a few more songs. It was like I was the evening's entertainment, you know. But you're right, there's a certain magic, and it's an Irish thing, you know, sewing. And there was a fella called Derek Halpin, made a great show, and I think it might be a podcast now, on Halloween, News Talk. Now, it's a long time ago because he recorded our bit in the shopping centre, you know, and he interviewed young people and he asked them those questions about collecting and their insight was deadly, like, you know. And he went to America then, and because all those traditions, like the pumpkin carving came from turnip carving here. There was a thing called jack-o'-lantern, and that travelled with the Irish to America. So the Samhain festival is an Irish festival that became huge in America. And then it came back to us because when we were kids, we used to knock on the door and say, help the Halloween party. You get a few sweets out to people. In America, they said trick or treat, and they all say trick or treat now.
When we were a little bit older, we knocked into the flats in Balcurris looking for wood, and then the person would go into that gaff looking for wood, and you could take the door off the hinges straight away. You know, one of those quick release hinges.
Yeah.
And we'd throw the door over the block and run away and burn our doors. Just a flashback there of going into a disco in town called the Tara on a bus to 13, sponsored by Manhattan Peanuts, and on the side of it said the Nut Bus. And we used to get on the Nut Bus and just run amok as kids. We must have been like 13. I remember one time we set the seats on fire on the bus and fucked them out the window. We done mental shit.
And isn't that what happens at Halloween?
We done mad shit.
Like since God was born, people have went mad at Halloween. But I was talking to me mate in the garden the other night, and he was saying, can you feel the madness coming? And I was like, yeah, I can feel it. Like, I can actually know. I knew what he's talking about. There is a feeling of something. And you can't explain it, right?
So don't
Try and explain it.
let it out. Let it fucking out. It's a feeling. Let it out.
So are you saying I should go collecting?
I think you should go collecting. I think you should drink cider. I think we should get onto the bus going into town.
It'll have to be alcohol free for me. I'll tell you what, I'll get a bottle of Sidona.
Do you ever stick your fingers inside on it?
I did it. I'm definitely going to hang around Ballymun Halloween night, you know, and I think like we've had other world festivals and all that kind of stuff, and they're deadly. Like the other world festival down at the plaza, I love it, and you know, locals.
For me, it's like the one that is in Derry. I was at that one a couple of times, which is like the biggest Halloween celebration in the country. The whole of Derry seems to be dressed up.
Yeah.
And there's an energy and a tension and a vibe and a mood. And you get that in Ballymun. Like the Ballymun Halloween Festival for a good number of years was like the biggest thing happening in the city. And I think now loads of different communities do it.
There was one parade I loved because it kind of came from all the different areas, you know what I mean? So there was Coultry had a parade, Shangan had a parade, Slough had a parade, Poppentry had a parade, and they all met at the roundabout. This is like back in the day, and that was deadly, you know?
Yeah, there's a definite pagan vibe of Halloween still.
Oh, yeah. So that thing that Mancom was talking about, where I was saying, what makes us Irish, I think that definitely, that feeling about, oh, Halloween's coming, but you don't even know. You can't tell what it is. It's like something you smell, something you feel. There's something changing. There's going to be a bit of boldness, you know. There's going to be a bit of crack. There's going to be a bit of
devilment.
Or something like that. You know what I mean?
Let's lean into the devilment, into the boldness, into the shadows, into the bleeding, the sound.
I wonder whatever happened to Derek Halpin. I wonder could we grab him and have a chat with him about that program that he made. You know.
It'd be nice to get a storyteller on.
We have a storyteller in Ballymun.
Aideen?
She's deadly.
Let's get Aideen on. And
let's get Aideen in.
Do some scary stories or...
Yeah, let's do it.
Episode 11. We're on a bleeding journey, Sparky. I'm excited. I can't wait to get into my new camper van with you and travel somewhere in the country.
We're going to Belfast there's a community organisation up there. There's a woman who wants, like I said, would you come on the podcast? And she said, no, there's three of us in the office. So I said, right, the three is our Ollie. We were invited down to Kerry, down to Listowel. We were invited to Longford, Shane Crossing. Yeah, we've been invited loads of places. Let's get on the road.
A few things I just want to get out in Ballymun locally. 14th, 15th, 16th of September, we're doing the Good Food Festival, which is our first food festival in Ballymun. On the 23rd, which is a Saturday up in Ballymun United, we're doing a world record and we're doing a five-a-side. Everybody's welcome. The world record is like keepy uppies or football freestyle. The most people doing a keepy uppy freestyle for, I think it's 30 seconds or something like that. So we're looking for as many people as possible. About 300 people turn up to that Saturday the 23rd. And then in November we're doing the Ballymun Summit, which is like 3 days of chats, podcasts, conversations in Ballymun, and how do we make this community even better than it already is.
That was savage. It's always great to just sit down with you, Dean, you know what I mean, and just buzz off you, because we do it ourselves in our lives all the time, and I've often laughed at thinking we should have recorded that. Like, even recording me, Dan, all people have said to me, that's fucking deadly what you're doing. But I even think, I was watching one of my favourite YouTube channels today, and it's a couple who are from Malta, who they live off the grid in Portugal, one of these kind of hippie couples. They have goats and all that. But your woman was saying she had a very bad memory. She said, I love looking back at all the old videos. She made a kind of a roundup of all the 3 years of videos that they made. Like, you know, so they built a house for the goats, they built a chicken coop, they had a caravan they lived in, and then they made a gypsy caravan, they lived in that, like, you know. But she was like, I love looking back and seeing them, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to really be happy that we've done this, because all those chats that we have, all those discussions and debates, and even the summit, I'm looking forward to it, because
we're doing a live show. We're doing a live podcast at the summit on the Friday. I think it's Friday the 24th. So there'll be tickets available for that soon. Get your ticket in the Access 24th, Friday the 24th of November.
Deadly.
It's going to be a live show. We'll have a chat. We'll have a guest. We'll have a bit of music. We'll have the crack.
The benefit of listening to podcasts, I think, is you get to hear new ideas, brave, different crazy ideas, you know, because when we're listening to RTE and BBC, it's very sanitised, you know, whereas when you listen to podcasts, it's a bit braver, you're listening to the language that you're used to listening to, you know. So I just like being part of that. I like being able to share my madness, you know, to be able to share ideas and share my experience, you know.
And I was thinking about this today because I listened to a little bit of RTE, and it doesn't, that type of programming doesn't inspire me to aspire. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very limited. It kind of shuts down a little bit of conversation and debate. And if you say something that's left field or outside they shut you down. Outside of the norm or the Overton window, they kind of shut you down. Where with this, we can say and explore and tease out all different types of ideas, and it's not cut off if it doesn't meet a certain academic level or a certain political ideology or whatever. We can say what the fuck we want.
Yes and no, because like I think if you said something extremely mad or something like that, I would challenge you. If I said something mad, you would challenge me. I think there's room in the spaces for us to do that, like, you know what I mean? And it's not that we're being mad punk or that we're being mad out there, like, you know what I mean? I think we're just speaking the way normal people speak, and we give ourselves the opportunity to speak, and we listen. I'm not saying that RTE is all bad or that it doesn't inspire me. There's lots of great stuff on RTE. Like John Creedon on RTE is amazing. Absolutely amazing broadcaster, DJ, whatever you want to call him. So is Factina. Factina is deadly. So is your man, The South Wind Blows, the guy from Scullion. They're all deadly, like, you know what I mean? There's deadly stuff on RTE, but it's the kind of the news, the political stuff, which is very, very guarded and guided, that annoys me, you know what I mean? And if it's a national broadcaster, there should be, you know, everyone's voices should be heard. As long as it's not offensive, like, you know what I mean? As long as it's not, you know, racist or sexist or homophobic or something. I'm not saying there was a time when sexism and homophobia was totally acceptable on the national broadcaster, like, you know. I think RTE has a lot to learn from the punk nature of, you know what I mean? Like, I remember when punk music was seen as a bad thing, right? The filth and the fury is what they said, right? The filth and the fury. And now punk music is held up as one of those brilliant times when we broke away from the boringness of, you know, AOR music, like, you know, adult orientated rock. And there was bands that were playing 20-minute synthesizer solos, you know what I mean? And it was like masturbation or something, like, you know, they were all having a great time playing, but nobody else was having a great time.
Self-indulgent music.
Self-indulgent music. Whereas punk was two chords, a message, and it was 2 minutes. Bah! Boom, what's next? Now, I'm not saying that we continue, that's how it has to continue, but what it did was that it opened the crack, and then it opened it up and opened it up and opened it up. And it became important. And I think podcasts, TikTok, all those things, right, are going to become the platforms where people will listen, right, communicate, all that kind of stuff. And I think radio will kind of disappear into the background. Now, I think lots of older people listen to radio. You ask any young people, what radio station do they listen to? They just don't listen to them. And I've asked lots of them. Like recently, I actually did it, and I even heard it on Mike Savage. Mike Savage on his podcast asked this young fella, Jack, who's the youngest there, what, you know, do young people listen to radio? He goes, no, Netflix, TikTok, Snapchat, some of them, and Disney. He said Disney is huge. So people are accessing their information from all over the place now. So when you were saying that people are listening to this in Australia, savage, deadly, like, you know. Your man has taken the helm of RTE and he's talking about changing it. He needs to totally grasp the podcast thing, you know.
We should get him on the podcast and have a chat with him. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to invite him on. The new chairman, is he?
The MD.
He's getting invited onto the podcast. There's a dude in Canberra in Australia on a toilet after doing a 12-hour shift down a mine with a pair of earphones in listening to this podcast. And he's our number one fan. You Up the Flats, The Fresh Batch, episode 11.
Shut the fuck up!
Do that again.
Shut the fuck up!
Shut the fuck up!
I thought that was you that did that at the start of it.
Let's do a Halloween joke.
Halloween is not for another 8 weeks, do you? Relax your jokes.
We're gonna bring on a guy now. He's going to be doing his first gig, and no doubt soon will become a legend himself. And what I'd like you all to do is give him a very warm welcome. Be nice to him, and please put your hands together and go absolutely wild. The fantastic Mr. Dean Scurry.
What's the story?
Are you well? This is great, isn't it? This must be a great honour for everybody here, knowing that, you know, the first gig of a up-and-coming star. He's nervous. I'm fucking... Arlo Hanlon, Des Bishop. Woo! So, yeah. I'm from Ballymun. A scoreboard, a fucking score, look at it! So over the next 5 or 6 minutes, depending on when I shit myself and I just run off the stage. If there's any words or phrases that you need explaining, because you know I'm from the north side in Ballymun, I have that man, oh, fucking kiss me again. I fucking broke her in last night. So to break someone in is not a violent term. It's an intimate, loving kind of rob someone of their virginity kind of term, you know. I'm sorry if I'm not what you expected of like a typical Ballymunner, you know what I mean? The Nackuraguans, as we were called not so long ago, or the Metadonians, what's the fucking... I'm dying for a fucking shite! You know? Just watch the handbags there, you know? I'm down to be torn handbag, man, you know what I mean? I'm trying to wean myself off, man. The fucking handbags are doing me head in. So if I don't look like someone from Strumpet City, you know, we have had 2 booms in the country over the last couple of years, you know, and I can't dress in the Timberlands and, you know, the Rob Tops and all that type of stuff, you know. But you can get anything in Ballymun for 20 quid, fucking anything. BMW, score, man, a score, you know. A fucking 4-bedroom house, fucking 20 quid, man, no problem. I was born in the ghetto. Do you like this stuff, yeah? Yeah! Okay. I've been great. Gold dust! Thank you! It's great to be in Dublin because I've been gigging in Edinburgh doing the Edinburgh Festival, and most of the guys there are Americans and they haven't got a fucking clue what I'm talking about, right? Yeah? So there's some words they didn't get, like the word brutal. Brutal, that's a real Dublin word, isn't it? Brutal. Like in America, the word brutal means, like a brutal murder is like the guy is lying on the ground, he's chopped up in bits and he's being posted around, you know what I mean? UPS style. Brutal. In Ireland though, a brutal murder means it was shy. Ah, no, lads. That's fucking brutal. Sure, he's still breathing. Hold on. Now he's fucking dead. You can understand the accent. I got elocution lessons in Ballymun when I was growing up, yeah? Elocution lessons on this, that, these and those. That's what you need to be posh. It's all about the THs, isn't it, girls? The THs. Like, to me, these are me clothes. Do you know what I mean? This is a theatre. Some posh bitch, right, with too many teeth, try to learn me how to speak proper, right? In the parish hall, me and all my brothers lined up on a Sunday, an hour and a half, snotty noses. We wanted to be outside setting fire to fucking ditches or something. You know, do you remember that? Remember doing mad shit like that, yeah? Or pissing into orange bottles and handing them to your mate at the end of a match. Do you remember that shit? That's what we wanted to be doing, not this, that, these, and those. That's the way the TH goes. That's posh. At the end of it, I was fucking amazed, and I was like, Mother! I wish to go now. My fucking head is wrecked. As you can tell, right, I done a lot of drugs when I was growing up, right? But not real drugs like they have now. I done, like, poor people drugs. You know what I mean? Like Tipex. Or petrol. Or Anto. This is fucking great, isn't it? I can't feel me face. Let's do this forever. You wouldn't do petrol now, girls. Far too fucking expensive. But you just do mad shit like that. We had great fun growing up. Probably the maddest thing that we done growing up, right, was when there was a blackout, right? When there was a blackout. Remember them? That's not racist, lads. Relax. When there was a blackout, when the lights went off, we just went fucking nuts. It's a blackout! Rob everything! Lads, you know on a Sunday, when you're lying on the bed, in your nudes, naked, hungover, yeah? And you're rubbing your bits. I'm usually singing a song and all, just for the fucking ambiance, yeah? Christina Aguilera song, you're so beautiful! Because that's what lads do. If lads had a Sunday, that's all we do. Lads, on a Sunday, if you lie in bed, naked, nude, rubbing your willy, if that's what you do, on three, go, 1, 2, 3. That's what life's about, rubbing willies. What I don't get, though, is I'm lying on the bed, how my beautiful princess can walk in with a sweeping brush in her hand and go, you're a fucking weirdo. Because let's face it, right, if that was a woman, girls, if that was a woman, right, if that was one of yours, right, sorry, I'm only messing with you, relax. If that was a woman lying on the bed, right, naked, in the nude, right, rubbing her bits, there's not a fucking bloke in Ireland would walk past. We'd be there like... Holy Jesus Christ! Do you need a hand, love? It's funnier when you do it to a bloke. It'd be like Croke Park. You could have your little brother outside selling tickets. Come on then, lads. There's some woman in here rubbing her geese. But women are magical. They're fucking brilliant. And they get even more magical and... when they've had a couple of glasses of sippy, you know. Or a couple of bottles. My girlfriend's out with her mates and she arrives home at 4 o'clock in the morning. Floating on a cloud of alcohol. Or if she does Red Bull, it's like a fucking drunken hurricane. Ha! Opens the door. The only person up is the dog. He's like, what the fuck is going on? She creeps into the bedroom. Do you want some cold chips? And she's standing there. She's standing there like she's expecting a round of a fucking applause. Oh, well done for not getting raped on the way home. If a bloke done that, right? If he done that, he would get stabbed in the fucking head with a set of keys. Wouldn't you, you fucking idiot? Blokes have to tiptoe home. Shh, 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 shh. Open the door. Grab the dog for a little ride. It's all right. Sorry. Dogs can't speak. Just put more food in the bowl. So, well done. Welcome to my brain. Strap in, we're going to ride all night.
Here, fuck off, will you? Fresh, yeah?